Hello class, good morning. So today let's talk about understanding proportion.
A statement stating two ratios are equal is called proportion. So just like in our example, so we have ratio A and ratio B. So 3 to 5 or 3 to 5 and 9 to 15. As you can see, this one shows relationship, or they are what we call proportion, because when you multiply 3 to 3, the answer is 9. And when you multiply 3 to 5, the answer is 15. So 3 to 5 and 9 to 15 is equal. So this is what we call proportion. Another, when we can put letter C. So let's just multiply it into 2. So 2 times 3, the answer is 6. And 2 times 5, the answer is 10. So these three given ratio is what we call proportion, because they are equal. So another example, let's start it by 1/2. So the first thing that we're going to do is to multiply it by 2. So 2 times 1 is 2. Then 2 times 2 is 4. So these two fractions are equal because we just multiply 1 to 2, then 2 to 2. So if we're going to simplify 2 4, this is just equal to 1/2. Next, okay, we multiply 2. Now we will going to multiply 3 to the numerator and to the denominator. 3 times 1 is 3. 3 times 2 is 6. So again, this is equal to 1/2 because when you simplify 3 6, the answer is 1 to 2. Anyway, we're talking about ratio. That's why we read this as 1 to 2, 2 to 4, 3 to 6. So these three given fractions are equal. So we can say that they also form a proportion. Because going back to the definition of proportion, it is going back to the definition of proportion, if two or more ratios are equal, then they form a proportion. So another example regarding ratios, do the ratios 1 to 2 and 2 to 4 form a proportion? So let's write it in a fraction form, 1 to 2, 2 to 4. So as you can see, if we simplify 2/4, the answer is 1/2. The answer is equal to 1/2. Okay, let's divide. Let's divide the numerator and the denominator by 2. So 2 divided by 2 is 1. 4 divided by 2 is 2. So meaning to say, 1/2 and 2/4 are equivalent fractions. So they can form a proportion. The property of proportion. So if B is not equal to 0 and D is not equal to 0 in the proportion A to B and C to D, then AD is equal to BC, that is the product of the means is equal to the product of the extremes. I will repeat, the product of the means is equal to the product of the extremes, so that we can call that the two ratios can form a proportion. One way to determine if the two ratios can form a proportion is by getting the product of the means and the extremes. So extremes are the outer part and means is the inner part of the two proportions. So if the product of means is equal to the product of extremes, meaning to say the two ratios can form a proportion. For example, 1 to 2 is equal to 2 to 4. So let's see if these two ratios can form proportion. So multiply the means. 2 times 2, the answer is 4. Then multiply the extremes. 4 times 1, the answer is 4. It means that these two ratios can form a proportion by simply looking at the product of the extreme and the means, or what we call the cross product if we're going to use fraction. So A times D and B times C must be equal, the same as here. Are the ratios 2/3, 2 to 3, and 10 to 15 equivalent? So we're going to use the cross product. So 2/3 or 2 to 3, 10 to 15. So just multiply. 2 times 15 is 30. Then 3 times 10 is 30. So since their cross product is equal, meaning to say 2 to 3 and 10 to 15 are equivalent. What is n given the ratios 3 to 5, 3 to 5, and 12 to n form a proportion? So it means these two ratios form a proportion, then we're going to find the value of n. So let's write it in a fraction form. 3 to 5 is equal to 12 to n. Okay. I put equal sign because they form a proportion. So meaning to say these two ratios are equivalent. So in getting the value of n, just cross multiply. So 3 times n, the answer is 3n. Then next is 5 times 12, the answer is 60. Then how can we find the value of n? So just divide both sides by 3. So 3 divided by 3, the answer is 1. So the remaining is n. Then 60 divided by 3, the answer is 20. So meaning to say, the value of n is 20. For us to check whether our answer is correct, 3 to 5, 12 to 20, then cross multiply. 3 times 20 is 60, 5 times 12 is 60. It means that our answer is correct, which is the value of n is 20. So another example for getting the value of n in proportion. So we have 4 to 8 and n to 12. So just get the cross product. 4 times 12 is 48. And 8 times n is 8n. So in order for us to get the value of n, divide both sides by 8. So 8, 8. So 8 divided by 8, the answer is 1. So the remaining digit is n, or what's left is n. And next is 48 divided by 8. The answer is 6. So the value of n is equal to 6. Let's check if our answer is correct. So 4, 8, and 6. 4 to 8 and 6 to 12. So 4 times 12, the answer is 48. 6 times 8, the answer is 48. It means that our answer 6 for the value of n is correct. So another example, do the ratios form a proportion? So for you to find out whether the two ratios form a proportion, again, just get the cross product. So 6 times 2, the answer is 12. 3 times 4, the answer is 12. Meaning to say, these two ratios are equal, so they can form proportions. So yes, these two ratios form a proportion. For your activity, answer practice A and B on page 118. Take a clear photo of your answer, send it by private message, deadline October 29.